On a warm weekday morning, at a small roadside diner drenched in sunlight, a single dad named Ethan Walker stared at the half-eaten breakfast before him, fighting the exhaustion that had quietly become a part of his life. He had been running late for work, juggling bills, and worrying about keeping a roof over his 7-year-old daughter Lily's head after their lives had fallen apart following his wife's unexpected passing. His world had shrunk into routines of survival: drop Lily at school, rush to his shift at a construction site, skip meals if needed, and pray his paycheck would stretch far enough. But that morning, when he saw the woman sitting outside the diner window, soaked in daylight, trembling, clothes worn thin by hardship, something inside him shifted. Her eyes were tired but still searching for hope, and in that instant, the heaviness Ethan carried felt small compared to whatever burden she held. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and humanity, take a moment now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Thread. Let's spread stories that remind the world what it means to care. Ethan stepped outside, carrying his untouched plate of breakfast, and approached the woman, who looked startled as though kindness was something she had stopped expecting. Without saying a word, he placed the food in front of her and gently encouraged her to eat. She hesitated, then broke down, tears falling silently as she tried to take small bites between sobs. He didn't ask who she was or what had happened, because he knew too well how life could collapse without warning, how circumstances could turn anyone into a shadow of themselves. He simply stayed with her until she finished every crumb, then gave her the only thing he could spare, a warm smile and a soft wish for better days. She tried to speak, but her voice failed. And then, just as quietly as she had appeared, she walked away, leaving Ethan with a strange ache in his heart, as if he had witnessed a life trying to rise again but didn't know how. The days passed, and Ethan returned to his routine. The construction site grew busier as summer approached, and he often took double shifts to catch up on overdue rent. He skipped meals more frequently, telling Lily he had eaten earlier, but she was sharp, mature beyond her years, and she sensed the unspoken sacrifices her father made. Yet she never complained. She would hug him longer at night, drawing pictures of the two of them smiling under a bright sun, hoping it would remind her dad that their little world, though fragile, still held love. But the weight on Ethan's shoulders grew heavier. Their landlord had given him a final warning: the electricity bill was overdue, and one more unexpected expense would break him completely. 3 weeks after the morning at the diner, just when Ethan thought he could no longer outrun the storm, a black luxury car pulled up outside their modest apartment building. Two professionally dressed individuals stepped out, walked across the sunlit parking lot, and asked for him by name. Ethan panicked instantly, fearing debt collectors or some legal trouble he didn't know about. But when they introduced themselves as attorneys representing a woman named Margaret Hale, he froze. The name meant nothing to him, until they mentioned the diner. In a calm but firm tone, the lawyers explained that Margaret had once been a well-known photojournalist who had lost everything after an accident and a series of devastating events that left her homeless and wandering. She had been too embarrassed and broken to ask anyone for help, until that morning when Ethan offered something as simple yet powerful as breakfast and compassion. What he didn't know was that Margaret had been searching for a way to rebuild her life, and his kindness had reminded her that the world still held goodness. More importantly, the lawyers revealed that Margaret had recently passed away due to complications from her long-standing illness. But before her death, she had instructed them to find the men with the gentle voice and the tired eyes who shared his only meal with me. Stunned, Ethan listened as they told him she had left behind a fund set up in his and Lily's names. It wasn't just a small gift, it was enough to clear his debts, secure stable housing, and even create a small savings plan for Lily's future. Margaret had written in her final note that she had spent much of her life documenting the suffering of the world, but she had rarely encountered someone who gave without asking, without judgment, without expecting anything in return. She wanted Ethan and his daughter to experience the stability she had lost, to know that their kindness had not gone unnoticed. Ethan felt his knees weaken. The sunlight reflected off the car windows, blurring his vision as tears came. All the worry, the sleepless nights, the fear of losing everything, each memory washed through him like a wave breaking after a long storm. The lawyers handed him the documents, explaining the transition process, but their voices felt distant, as though Ethan were floating between disbelief and overwhelming gratitude. Lily, sensing something important, wrapped her small hand around her father's fingers, grounding him in the moment. For the first time in a very long while, Ethan allowed himself to breathe fully, deeply, knowing the ground beneath him wasn't crumbling anymore. In the following weeks, life began to change. Ethan moved his daughter into a brighter, safer apartment with a small garden that Lily immediately claimed as her own. He reduced his work hours, spending more afternoons sitting with her on the porch, watching birds flutter under the warm daylight. He started volunteering at local shelters on weekends, remembering how a meal had once changed a broken woman's final days, and how her gratitude had lifted him from despair. He never met Margaret again, but he spoke to her spirit often, silently thanking her for turning one simple act of kindness into a lifeline that reshaped his world. When people asked Ethan how his life turned around so suddenly, he always smiled and said it was because of a stranger who reminded him that kindness never dies, it only circles back in ways we cannot imagine. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps Kindness Thread continue spreading stories that inspire hope and humanity. Before we end, tell us in the comments, what's one small act of kindness you'll do this week? And with that, the story of a single dad, a shared breakfast, and a stranger's final gift reminds us that even the smallest good deed can echo into someone's future like sunlight breaking through a long, difficult day.